Om Shri Sai Ram, offering my most humble and reverential prayers and pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagawan, Sri Satya Sai Baba. It's again a privilege and a great blessing to bring you this episode of his story through the eyes of his voice. Listening about Bhagawan, the divine journey, the different perspectives on him is indeed a great blessing bestowed only by his grace. As somebody says, you can't even think of God unless God wills it. So we are all privileged again tonight to have that blessed opportunity to look at Bhagawan's life once again through another brother's perspective. So let us start this evening with our prayer. And as always, I request all of you to please join me in and begin this evening with our prayer. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Shri Sai Ram. Tonight I have great pleasure to welcome and introduce you another brother of mine who had a unique privilege of being with Bhagawan since his childhood, thanks to the parents who were pulled by Bhagawan earlier in life. He grew up in the environment of Sai, then had a privilege of studying in Brindawan and in Prashanthi Nilayam. He joined the campus in 1982 when he did his BSc in Biosciences, went on to do his master's, and then as Bhagawan would guide him, he did his PhD, finishing everything by 1989. And after which, when Bhagawan indicated him to leave, he went on to do his another PhD from Madras, University of Madras. He has an LLB degree too, so he holds two PhD and a law degree in law, and he has had the privilege of working with the UN Environmental Program on ozone layer protection. Presently, he is in Delhi NCR in Noida as a professor of environment and sustainability, and he also was formerly a director of Vigyan Parisar, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. This brother is Brother Gopichandran. Bhagawan lovingly called him Brother Gopichandran, and I would like to call him that way. So welcome, Brother Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram.
Thank you very much for accepting the invitation and joining us on his story through the eyes of his voice.
I'm most blessed, and this is one more wonderful experience, continuing experience of Swami's love and protection. When he says, I will take care of you and you will be in my folds, this interaction is also one such wonderful moment, his protection and being in his folds.
Certainly. And I'm looking forward to hearing more insights and your observations of the avatar. So let us start this journey. So let us start, and let me ask you a standard question I ask everybody, like how this journey started. How did your parents get pulled into Bhagwan's fold?
Oh, Abhimanyu, once again, what a joy it is to relive those moments. You introduced the title saying that his glory through the eyes of his students. I think that is the point of gravitation. It is after all his glory. My papa would often say, after we became devotees, and when we were Swami students, he would say like, if not for Swami, our life would have been very different. And whatever we are, we feel most blessed, and the blessing is humongous. We will not be able to describe it. Is entirely on account of his grace. Entirely on account of his grace. Now, my parents were initially in Mumbai, around the late 50s and early 60s. Papa, one fine evening, later tells us, that he read about Swami in the magazine Illustrated Weekly. I can see on the screen that was one singular moment in our life. This was around the year 1963-64. 1963-64. All that Bhagawan prompted was for him to read about him. And that grace transformed into us becoming his devotees. This also meant once when Bhagawan was in Mumbai, I remember walking, holding my dad's hand and my chacha's hand also, going for Swami's darshan. I distinctly remember, I was just about 4 or 5 years old. I distinctly remember, and I'm repeating that for the second time, Swami going in his car and Swami literally giving us the joy of looking at us. There are some images which remain in our eyes, remain in our hearts. And that glorious moment has never gone away from my mind and my heart. So 1964, 65, to be precise, around 65, because I was about 4 or 5 years old. And that is a long answer to your short question. When and how did we become Bhagwan's devotees? Incidentally, you said I joined Brindavan. I joined in 82. No, Abhimanyu, I joined in 79 after the summer course.
Sorry. Okay. After summer course.
79 to 82. I was in Brindavan. Yeah. Now I'll respond to your inputs.
Okay. Excellent. So sorry. Thanks for correcting. So you had after summer course, you joined in 79, and then you did your graduation from Brindavan. Or it was called PUC. Oh, I think your internet connection is fluctuating.
Yeah. I was part of the 3 year. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I was in Brindavan for 3-year BSc, chemistry, botany, zoology. Yeah. And mine was the last batch of the Bangalore University. That time our college was still under Bangalore University. And as you very rightly said, I had the joy of going over to Prashanthi Nilayam for the first batch MSc and first batch PhD.
Okay, so let's look at your childhood. So when you were, obviously your parents were involved, so obviously we all get involved with Bal Vikas and everything. So how was your childhood?
Oh, wonderful. Again, with his immense grace, Swami gave me the blessing of being a part to the first batch of Bal Vikas. By the time Papa had got transferred to Chennai, if I remember right, this was, around the year 68, 69, if I'm right, when Bal Vikas started. It was only logical that we go to Bal Vikas. Our home was a typical Swami's home, which meant what? One day in the week saw bhajans happening, Nagar Sankirtan also happening several times, and then Annadan was a regular feature. Papa used to drive the cycle. My brother Satya Venkatesh was also in Brindavan. He also went through Bal Vikas. He used to sit in the front of the cycle, me at the back of the cycle. Papa used to ride, and we used to carry loads of food packets. All that we knew was Sai Ram, and then go around, distribute it, and come back. This was a way of life. So Swami was practically and literally, like many of us, looking at the avatar through our eyes meant experiencing the blessing, experiencing the blessing of being his devotees. And this translated into a very unique human value. And I've seen it practically with all Swami devotees. And I love offering my gratitude to my parents by saying this. They were profoundly loving, profoundly loving. I remember my father telling me, "Look, we are we are in Swami's folds, so everyone in the family should be treated the same. Everyone outside has to also be treated the same." This is the influence Swami has on his devotees.
Of course. So, any good memories of your childhood wherein you got a chance to interact with Bhagwan or be in his physical presence?
Oh, wonderful. I'm enjoying this opportunity to constantly keep expressing my gratitude. One of the most profound values, and I'm using the word profound for the second time, Swami would always emphasize, even in his discourse, gratitude is the ultimate human value. Gratitude is the ultimate human value. I therefore take this chance to express my gratitude to my wonderful Balvika's guru, Prema Jairaman. Prema Jairaman. Papa was also the president of convener. Not the president, convener of one of the samitis in Chennai city at the time. We were closely connected with the organization. So words like the state president, the Sevadal convener, these were the jargon in our home, practically. So what was the most beautiful experience that immediately comes to my mind? My brother was all of just 6 months, 7 months of age. Here, I'm sure you would also have noticed in Prashanthi Nilayam, there are very tiny kids, who are hardly, of about, say just about 7, 8 years of age or whatever. They would always be with the mother during darshan, you would have noticed that probably. So I also went holding my mother's hand and sat, and you know what it is to get a place in the first row, so that Swami would come physically nearby. We had the joy of going to one of our own brothers. He was in Prashanthi Nilayam by name Jaya Krishna. Swami used to stay in Jaya Krishna's house in Chennai before moving into Sundaram. His father was Ishwar. Who was active in the Samiti. And now, why am I telling you this? In his home, where Swami stayed, was our pre-Sevadal classes. In the same floor where Swami's room was. Right? So we had the joy of walking up the stairs every Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had your youth classes when Swami was staying there?
Well. I will restate what I said. In that building, on the floor where Swami used to stay, was also our pre-Sevadal class.
Okay.
So it used to happen in one room. Swami's room was hardly two rooms away. Yeah. So every week we had the chance of going up to the same floor where Swami's room was. Now, what was the most beautiful childhood experience? We sat for darshan in Jai Krishna's home. It had a large compound where about 500-600 people could gather easily. My mother, me, and my little brother, my brother, a tiny tot, lying on my mom's lap. Swami, we got the first row, Swami came. And what happened? Swami materialized vibhuti for somebody nearby. And what did Swami graciously do? Whatever vibhuti was left in his fingers, he smeared it on Satya's forehead. And Satya, Satya was lying on my mother's lap. And I distinctly remember again this beautiful image. You know what kids do? No, I knelt. I remember holding my mother's shoulder and I was looking at Swami and I was doing like this. So you can visualize that scenario. Such a beautiful thing. And then we used to participate in Balvika's programs, drama, speeches, then bhajan competitions. This was our way of life. And that took us to the next beautiful stage of the pre-Sevadal. I'll be happy to answer questions, Abhi.
No, please. Okay. So what was your first, you said about the first interaction was this, then in a way, if you look at it. Then when did you come first to Puttaparthi? Okay,
great. That was in the year 1975. I was part of the Balvika's rally, 50th birthday rally. I distinctly remember again walking as part of the rally, going past Swami physically. Sai Sai Jab te chalo bolo milkar Sai Ram. That was the
I think
song.
most of us have that memory.
Yes, we had the memory, and some of my wonderful colleagues from Brindawan and Prashanthi Nilayam, when I studied there too, were part of that rally. Later sometime we when we were chatting, we would say, "Oh, I was part of the rally. Oh, I was also part of the rally."
Yeah.
We all as kids were taken to stay in the Anantapur hostel. We used to go by bus for the night, and after we reach, I remember we used to line up in the dining hall, have our food there, get up in the morning, wash up, get into the bus, and again come back to Prashanthi. Children from all across the country got this chance of going up and down.
That's a really a unique observation. Nobody has ever mentioned that students of the boys of the rally stayed in Anantapur campus. That is quite a far distance, and then commuted every day. Okay.
All Balvika's children from all across the country. Where we all went there and we got back. The when the chance for pre-Sevadal came, when we grow up, we are about 16, 17 years of age. Something wonderful happened, by getting into Swami's proximity. We had the chance. And before I go into that, I would love you to ask, and if you have any specific questions more,
No, no,
we'll be
please.
able to.
I will certainly, because this flow is very nice.
Excellent.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. I had a batchmate, Jagdish Rajan. Jagdish Rajan. Jagdish
Yeah.
Rajan's brother was Ravi Shankar, faculty in Brindavan and so on. Now, why am I mentioning him? He landed from Hyderabad. His dad got transferred through the Indian Airlines, and he landed in Chennai. His home was very close to my home. In the Chennai city. He joined our pre-Sevadal. We had another faculty member by name Giridhar. Giridhar also used to sing songs. His brother
Yes,
was
yes.
Sridhar. Sridhar and
Sridharan,
Giridhar were
yes.
also my pre-Sevadal classmates, batchmates.
Okay. They were also
Sridhar,
from Chennai.
they were all from Chennai. My mother tongue is Telugu, incidentally. We are Telugu, having settled in Chennai because Papa got transferred from Mumbai to Chennai. We were there. So now comes the more beautiful part, and how Swami, the Lord, takes our lives in His hands, and that is the more important aspect. More than saying, I had only the joy of being in His hands through, by going through all of this. So what we are referring to is His grace, and that has been phenomenal. At every stage of life, Now, what can you imagine from about 4 years of age, when life is only parents and Bhagawan, you seamlessly get into pre-Sevadal around 16, 17 years of age, and at that fortunate moment of time, two wonderful things happened. When Jagdish came into the scene, and why am I saying this? We had to every Saturday or every Sunday, if I'm right, travel a long way in the city. One of the best things about Chennai city, much like Mumbai, is the electric train service. It is a well-oiled system, so to say. From one end of the city, we both would jump into the train. It's a very long distance. Go to another part of the city near the harbor. From there, get onto another bus and go to the home of the state president, then one Mr. Achyutanandam. Achyutanandam. Now, what was beautiful about this Achyutanandam's home? It had a huge garage, a real huge garage, where let us say about 100 people could sit.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and there Sanatana Sarathi, used to be posted from. Okay, so Jagdish, myself, used to put the wrappers
The
around
Tamil version. The Tamil version, or
the Tamil and the English. There used to be English
oh,
versions also. Yeah,
okay.
for local distribution within the state. I could be wrong on that. Now I don't remember which language, incidentally. Okay,
Okay.
now we used to take the gum, smear it, and then fold the wrappers,
They
make
fold the
sure everything
wrappers.
is in order. Yeah. Morning to evening, this used to happen. There used to be bhajan, singing. We used to have food there. Now, what was most beautiful about it? Because we were always almost 100% attendance, Incidentally, by the time when Satya grew, he was born in 67. Now I'm talking about the year 79, when he was 11 to 12 years of age. We had put in 100% Balvikas attendance. you know, that was extremely important for something unique in our life. By the time as Satya grew, my mother had become a Balvikas guru. Mama used to go to the Mahila Vibhag, then
Yeah.
organized the Balvikas class. Papa was, as I said, the convener, and I was part of Balvikas and Pre-Sevadal. Yeah, and, this was our home. Then because of the 100% attendance, the year was 1979. Jagdish was hugely responsible, as I said, for incidentally Jagdish's brother, when Hariharan was there, and Hariharan worked in IIT. Hariharan was part of the bhajan group in Brindawan those days. How wonderful
Yes.
bhajans he used to sing, wonderful bhajans he used to sing. That had a huge impact, on us. And at our home bhajans, Hariharan and Jagdish used to come and sing, And when Swami's student comes, how it is. When the level of bhajans, the level of interactions were totally, at a different order. Now came a wonderful chance. The year was 1979 to be precise, Shankranti time. Jagdish and myself got the chance of, in fact, getting into Sundaram when Swami came, to be in the same hall space where Swami's car was parked. Swami's car was parked. You know what it is in Sevadal, the badges are given, and the so-called, reporting for duty early morning used to happen. And then you are assigned a place to be in, and so on. What a joy the Jagdish and myself, of all people under the sun, got the chance to stand next to Swami's car. And what was unique about it, there was a telephone there, a landline telephone. And Jagdish and my job was to receive the phone calls, because people would call for whatever reason, and go up to Achyutanandam, the state president, or anyone else there. So we were typically phone boys, if we can say so. And at that time, we learned a wonderful lesson from one of the seniors there. Coming from the kind of environment in the city, one typical response I definitely gave was, when a phone call came, they would speak, I would say, yeah, 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 yeah. Now the Swami's senior devotee walked up and said, don't say yeah, say Sairam and say yes. That was a wonderful lesson I learned at that point of time. Now, what was unique about that chance was, whenever Swami would come to get into the car, and after coming back from outside, walk upstairs, we had the chance of very closely looking at Swami, and Swami would look at us also. Smiles. It was all nothing other than smiles. And getting a smile from Swami, or getting the chance to smile back at Swami, oh my goodness. Now, I can recall those wonderful moments, Swami walking past. Something equally amazing happened, and I'm literally saying equally. Because at that point of time, I distinctly remember Srinivas, Sonam, Ram Prasad, who's Chakravarti's son. I I,
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember these. Sudarshan sir was there. Now, Jagdish and me had the chance of collecting the clothes these people would wear, take it to the Dhobi, and when the Dhobi brings it back, put it in their room. Now,
So
we
they
also
were
saw
accompanying.
these.
They were accompanying Swami.
They were accompanying Swami. We had the
Yes.
chance of
Yes.
looking at those fellows, and we said, my gosh, how wonderful are these guys shining, and what lovely chances is Swami giving them. Oh my, even now I'm getting goose pimples, when I think of it. So we enjoyed those moments. And by the time Jagdish had told me a lot about the college, my papa also had the thought that it would be great if I went to the college. These were all typical dialogues at home. Papa, I want to go to Swami's college, or do I go for medicine, or whatever. We are not decided yet. But by that time, Swami had infused a great human value in the mind of a youngster. And that is, Papa and Mama are living gods. We have to be disciplined. And as a Balvika Spree Sevadal student, the levels of discipline expected were also high. I have no hesitation in saying that it was a seamless internalization of those values. Seamless internalization. If I can cut a long story short, 1979 to 2015, so 36 years later, when I was serving as a director. Incidentally, it is Vigyan Prasar, the Department of Science and Technology. I used to report only to the Secretary Government of India, and had the chance of interacting very closely with the minister. And on a couple of occasions, I'm pausing deliberately for it to sink. The senior most officials, and including the minister, had the chance of saying, "Oh, you are Swami's student." It shows. Okay, it shows. Oh, that is the impact. Now this is only a dedication, an expression of gratitude. It is not so much to say that I excelled as Swami's student, not at all. Okay, but it is to say, Swami, grateful you gave that wonderful orientation. Now, at the end of Swami's stay, something beautiful happened again. Probably everything is beautiful about it. Achyutanandam, in the previous evening before Swami left, came up and said that I should go upstairs and garland Swami. Jagdish would do the arati for Swami from downstairs. Oh my! I remember Swami, there is a lotus kind of a semicircle. Swami would stand there and give darshan. There was a screen. I was standing behind the screen. I had the garland in my hand, and I had to call Swami. That was amazing. I had to call Swami. I called Swami. Swami said, "Come." I garlanded Swami, and then Jagdish performed arati from below. Oh my goodness! We came down. We were waiting, and then when Swami, I said would go out, come back. One such occasion when Swami went was to Abbotsbury. Abbotsbury is a huge public space in Chennai. Swami went there to give discourse. So Jagdish and myself said, "Yeah, let us also go to listen to Swami's discourse." So we, in fact, after Swami left, I don't remember whether we took an auto rickshaw or we drove our cycle or whatever. We rushed, we heard Swami's discourse, and then we rushed back, and we were there, by the time Swami came back. So then, just before Swami physically left, so Achyutanandam came running from upstairs. He said, "Swami is calling both of you for a photograph." Oh my goodness. So that was a Polaroid picture, which I remember Rupak taking, and then Swami gave it to us. It was with me for very long. It was with Papa, but that was another close proximity interaction. Now, why am I elaborating on all of this? When the turn for summer course came,
that got you an opportunity.
That got the opportunity. And before that was also a state level winter course, where Jagdish again came running home. He said, "We'll have to be there tomorrow in the morning. It is down south, about 250, 300 kilometers away." I said, "My Papa is not at home because Papa was on tour. Where do I get the money from? Mama has little money at home." You know what? Satya was all of 78, 11 years old. You know what he said? "I will bring you money from the bank just across the road." 11-year-old kid in the evening at 5 o'clock. And those days, the State Bank of India had the chance for little kids to also have accounts. Satya, all of 11 years, ran across to the bank, and maybe that manager knew who this kid is from the home opposite. He must have put him on the table because those big counters, and he signed whatever and came back to me. Can you imagine, with 50 rupees, 50 rupees. The year was 1978. Okay, we participated in that winter course also. I remember winter course. Swami's coming in Chennai, and then the opportunity. These two synergized to give us the chance to participate in summer course. And can you imagine, entry into summer course again is dependent on who the people get shortlisted at the last moment.
Correct.
Jagdish and myself reached, Brindawan two days earlier because Ravi Shankar was still the faculty there. And Jagdish said, "My brother is there. Don't worry, let us go see what happens." Something unique there happened again. Ravi Shankar said, "Where will you guys stay now that you have suddenly landed up from Bangalore city, Chennai to Bangalore city to Whitefield? You have reached Brindavan. Where will you stay?" We laughed, we smiled at him sheepishly. You know what he said, Abhimanyu? He said, the room behind the clock in Brindavan campus, it's called the clock room, is free. So you both fellows go and stay there for 2 days.
Oh, upstairs. Oh my God.
Just behind the Brindavan clock. Okay, the year was 1979. Jagdish and
Many
me
won't even
remember.
know that. Many won't even know that there's a room there.
Yes. So we both went there, and I remember behind the chemistry department was the bathroom toilet. We used to clean
Lovely.
ourselves up there. And when we were there in the Brindavan campus for those couple of days, suddenly Swami's car came. Swami was there. We are not students yet. How do we go in front of Swami? Oh my goodness, we were literally doing hide and seek. Do we have the courage to go in front of Swami? Can we as students? But then Swami gave us, can we as outsiders? We didn't know. But the joy of having Swami's darshan from within the campus was unique. And then came the chance of the state president saying, go, some of you got selected. And he said, hey, Gopi, Jagdish, come. You got selected for the summer course. Oh my goodness. Then came something unique. I will be happy to go into it.
So
I
you got
will.
permission. Let me pause. I just only remembered something I want to ask you. You know, if you look at it, there are million things Bhagawan has done in his physical sojourn, and everything I would say is equally important. I dare not put him in a category of which activity of his was more important than the other. But having said that, this Balvikas, what we call, and today's generation may know it as SSE, Satyasai Education in Human Values, or Satyasai, Educare program. This Balvikas is one such brilliant, blessings of Bhagwan, which has literally transformed generations across the board. Of course, for you, it was a trigger to go close to him physically, and it became a reason for you to get more and more proximity. But how do you look at the impact of the Balvikas and the youth activities in today's context? So if you have to really kind of promote it, understand, make your observation on the importance of this program called Balvikas, or
It
SSE as
is.
they say.
I think this is a golden opportunity for me, and as I started off, to express my gratitude to the program. Also, as the first batch Balvika's, participant.
From Chennai.
Yes, I know the value of time, and therefore I will not get into a ramble, but highlight two or three most important things. If not for Balvikas, we would have never understood the importance of discipline in our lives, which means being polite, not jumping the gun, having the courage to not lie, having the courage to speak the truth. And most importantly, I think it is respect for elders. Respect for elders. I can, be almost damn sure that if you come across somebody who's been through the Balavikas, uh, a signature element of that person will be humility and respect. If not for these, as my papa rightly said, life would have been totally different. I, for one, would have been as brash. This is not a holier than thou attitude at all, not at all. This is only to say how fortunate we were to receive His grace, and therefore use those values as guiding lights in our life. Which is to say, when there are moments in life when I'm not really practicing them, that light is in front of me to say, hey, remember, you have to practice these values. Okay? Then undoubtedly, we gravitate towards the value and practice it. So the impact is comprehensive. Impact is comprehensive.
Isn't it a very unique think that Bhagawan chose mothers to lead it?
Incidentally, our Prisevadal Guru was a Sai brother.
Oh,
Yeah.
Priest Sevadal.
And
I'm talking about Balvikas.
yeah, Balmikas. Yeah, I probably went a step ahead. Okay, our pre-Sevadal Guru was in fact a Sevadal in a volunteer. Yes, yeah, could be. How Swami chose mothers, and sisters of the Sai family to be Balmikas gurus. Yes, yeah, absolutely. So I hope I answered your question, and in the process also offered my gratitude to the program.
No, it certainly has impact. It is anywhere in the world. It's not only India, and many other organizations have taken the thread from here and started wonderful programs under different names and banners. But this program is really impactful.
I had the
So
blessing of visiting one such place beyond our shores in the year 2015, and I was introduced as a first batch Balvikas student. And I saw little children there, and I said, "Sai Ram." Yeah, go ahead, Abhiman.
yeah, since you mentioned about summer course, and summer course is some of one of the most cherished memories of every student who has attended it, and it not only gave them an exposure to Bhagavan, but it also gave an exposure to the whole philosophy of culture, ethos, values in a very condensed, precise manner. So, in short, how was your take and impression about the summer course?
It was the first golden opportunity to step into Swami's institution formally. I was practically guided, practically, and this is a senior by name Ravindra Dakapa. I was joining first year BSc later. He was already in his third year BSc. The kindness he effused is something that remains in my heart and mind even today. The sheer, now I can use his word, the sheer glamour that was reflected through his simplicity. Glamour through simplicity was striking. Which means what? Phenomenally kind. He was also assigned to our batch from Tamil Nadu, if I can say, to be with us through the summer course. What deep insights he revealed about his understanding of what Swami would speak as human values and spirituality. And that was the sophistication he revealed. The spread and depth of knowledge of spirituality and of the world. Like his general knowledge, I would say, was at 9.9 in a 10-point scale.
Wow.
And then I said, oh my goodness, here is Swami's student who is so humble, so good. And that is the first part of my two-part response. Swami students, brilliant, exceptionally kind, and practicing human values. The second part was transformational, when I had the chance of being guided by Swami, saying that join Swami's college. So the summer course therefore gave the opportunity when I would say, look, Swami, we pray, offer our prayers to you at our home, and you are giving me the chance to sit in front of you and listen to you. What a wonderful chance is this, Swami. And that feeling remained undiluted even as of now. But the specific summer course opportunity was to look at Swami physically, closely, and look at the way his, for instance, Swami would ask his boys to speak in the evening before his discourse. My goodness, I normally wouldn't want to sound poetic or even emotional. No, not at all. No, but the kind of impact they left insofar as the brilliance was concerned, sheer brilliance was tremendously inspiring. Sandeep Shastri was my senior. He was in his third year BA, and I was in my first year BSc, and we were in the same corridor kind of. Sandeep Shastri was one of the speakers. Ram Prasad was one. Then,
Brilliant, boys.
yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah, brilliant, exceptionally brilliant. Kamal Sani was also a speaker, Srinivas, Nityanand Menon. Oh my goodness, I used to wonder, is this how Swami's student live their lives? And then I said, the Swami, honestly, Swami's blessing came, when Swami said I should also become a student. you know so till that point of time, I did not have the blessing of being his student, but of course through Balvikas, yes. But
Well, later on,
1979 June.
you also became a speaker, and we'll come to that later on. So we'll
Oh
catch
my
that.
goodness, I'm very
Okay.
clear about the timeline you're talking of. I'm speaking
Okay.
as a Balvikas pre
Yes,
Brindavan guy.
I know, I know. It's perfect. So in summer course, you had an opportunity to interact with Bhagwan? Any formal occasion, anything which gave you an opportunity to talk to Swami?
Again, his wonderful grace that he allowed interviews state-wise.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Yeah. Jagdish was there. I was there. Giridhar and Sridhar did not join the summer course. Somehow those two wonderful fellows were in Prashanthi Nilayam, of course. You also know them very well, no?
Yeah, of
And
course.
yeah, of course. When Jagdish was there, yeah, and in this state-wise interaction, rather blessing, from Swami's side, we had the opportunity, and then Swami said, "Join Brindavan here." That's it.
So Bhagwan said join, eh? So sweet.
Of course, of course.
So then the
Bhagawan
joining was
said,
smooth, or some adventure happened?
that is a beautiful story. Okay, say like at that age, people, when we are completing the pre-university, one of the things that dominate our discussion with Swami, is where should we study, what should we do, and so on. So when my turn came, when Bhagwan allowed me, I did, I said, Swami, what should I do? Before I completed the question, I remember Swami saying, Brindavan, join Chai. Okay, so there was no further drama. It was just sheer precipitation of his grace. But then
So
something
beautiful.
amazing happened. Thank you, Abhimanyu, for asking this question. I remember again, why am I bringing Satya was your batch. Okay,
Yeah, he
why
was
am
my
I bringing
classmate. Yeah.
Satya again? Yeah, he was your classmate. And why am I bringing him again? By the time he saw me, I was joining Brindavan after summer course. He had decided that he is going to join only Swami's college. Okay, when he in 79 he was 12 years of age. It's important to mark the age also. Okay, and like you, he also later joined pre-university. We'll come to that as part of the drama. In my particular case of the drama, again, I was protected enormously by Bhagwan. I had to go back, bring my results, and it was a shocker. I got a second class in my PUC. I was wondering, will I get a place in Swami's institution? All my dreams of going into medicine, earlier, till Swami said, I said, who the hell is going to give me a medical seat with the second class? But then Swami said, join Swami's college. Will even Swami's college accept me? My papa said, when Swami said join, he'll take care. Don't worry. I remember how that evening, Papa and myself got into the bus from Chennai. That evening, there was, like the 3 seats, were totally free. I remember lying down and I was simply staring at the ceiling of the bus. I could not sleep. I said, Swami, please do something when I come there. Please protect Swami. I know you'll take care of it. We went to one of those sheds when we landed there, Papa and myself. We washed up. I remember running straight, carrying my mark sheet. Nobody stopped me. I wouldn't know how. Walked straight through the veranda, went and sat right in front of Swami's door. I was
What?
holding a. Nobody stopped me. Nobody stopped me. And for all that, I remember I was wearing a dark brown Levi's shirt. Dark brown Levi's shirt. Okay.
So you are not in the whites. You
Not
are
at
not a
all.
student.
I was
You are
not a
not a
student.
student, and you just passed through these Sevanals and everybody and went straight in front of the door.
I went and
Classic.
sat there. You remember in
Okay.
our times, birthday boys used to sit in front of the door,
Sit
no?
there in the front. Yeah, we have shown the pictures also. Yeah.
Correct.
Hmm.
Not on that upper platform where guests used to sit. The lower
Yeah,
large
second one.
veranda where
The
they used
middle
to
one.
sit. No?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Hmm.
I went and sat there. I always had this intuitive feeling that no, Swami would definitely respond. Yeah, Swami knows, no, Swami knows everything. Swami opened the door, he came and holy smoke, if I can use that word. Swami came and I said, Swami, what is this? I got second class, Swami. What should I do? Swami again simply repeated, go and join Brindavan. By the time the Prashanthi Nilayam campus had started, Swami did not say, go here and join the Prashanthi Nilayam campus. Swami said, go to Brindavan and join there. Okay.
Wow.
I know all this happened within a period of 5 minutes of getting into the veranda. Bhajan got over. I was sitting there. I came rushing to my dad. Maybe my dad saw Swami speaking with me. He was absolutely delighted. He said, "Okay, there is a train probably in the evening from Dharmavaram or wherever. Let's go find out." Again, I remember sitting in the train, looking out, of that rugged landscape, bright moonlight, no sleep maybe. What will happen in Vrindavan? We have no idea. We landed near the city, in bus station, and then went somewhere into the city, near what is called the Avenue Road. Found a hotel room there, then took a bus and went to Vrindavan. All of this happened, uh, by about 9:30, 10 o'clock, we were in Vrindavan. And then came the most beautiful part of Swami's grace. Of course, this also is Swami's grace. Swami saying, go to Vrindavan. Man. When I entered if you're familiar with the Brindavan landscape, the institute, you know,
Yeah.
we enter through a foyer, and the foyer has got short staircase on the left and the right, you know,
Yeah.
and on the right side you go, it goes to the office, the
Offices.
director's
Yeah.
office, principal's office. So I climbed that, went, and Ravi Shankar bang appears in front of me. Okay, Ravi Shankar bang in front of me. He's typically rushing for his class, with carrying huge accountancy books. I also remember that. And so I said, sir, Sairam. He said, you come here. I said, sir, Swami asked me to join here, sir. What should I do? He just holds my hand and takes me to a person called Amarnath. Amarnath was in charge of the office. And what does he tell Amarnath? Hey, yaar, give him seat, yaar. And what does Amarnath do? Sir, which branch do we give him? I do not know. I had the courage of asking, sir, can you give me commerce seats, sir? Because, people like Kamal Sani, Anup and all were all commerce graduates. So I thought it would be great to be in commerce. Ravi Shankar said, no, we cannot give you commerce. We can only give you sciences. Okay, and what sciences have you studied? I said the chemistry, botany, zoology earlier. He says, okay, give him seat in BSCR. Okay, Amarnath says, sir, okay, sir, we'll give him seat, sir, no problem. He opens the register and then he says, sir, important, we have to find out whether there is space in the hostel, sir. And what does he do? He takes me to Lakshmi Narasimham. And Bhagwan's grace, Lakshmi Narasimham, by chance comes out of his room. And what does he just looks at me, and then I say, Sairam. Then Amarnath says, sir, we want to give him a seat here. Do you think there is a hostel room? He said, yeah, there is a cupboard, one or two left. Give him seat. My goodness, I've become Swami's student. Why am I telling you all this? It appears so simple. But at that
Did
point
Mr.
of
Ravi
time,
Shankar knew you? Did he knew you or?
yeah, I told you, no, that he was Jagdish's brother, and he knew
Okay.
Jagdish and me were part of the pre-Sevadal, Balvikas and all, and we
Okay.
came together. And he's the one who told us to go to the room, behind the clock.
Acha, that behind the clock. Okay. Okay.
Behind the clock.
Yes. Yes.
And he watched us through summer course also. So that is how it was. And then Amarnath says, I cannot take you into the college till you actually bring the eligibility certificate. Eligibility certificate is, I come from the Tamil Nadu secondary board. For me to get into
Yeah.
Bangalore University, I need this certificate. So Papa says, don't worry, Swami will take care. At around 2:33, we are in the Bangalore University. No. The next day we go to the Bangalore University. Papa says, it is a huge maze, who's going to look at us, what is going to happen and what not. But then don't worry, our Swami will take care. My entire eligibility certificate process got over in a couple of hours or more. I did not have to sweat. All that I did was to simply pray to Swami to protect. Next morning, I come to the campus with my eligibility certificate, and Amarnath says, "Sir, you got it. Go to the hostel." Simple. Lakshmi Narasimham looks at the register. He gives me room number A4 downstairs. Sonam is in the cupboard. Like I'm facing my cupboard. Sonam's cupboard was behind.
Behind you.
He was my
Behind.
roommate, and I equate with Sonam. I told him I used to carry your clothes and give it to you when you came to Sundaram, about 6 months ago. He says, "You are now Swami's student. Yeah, choda rahe ho sab." So it was wonderful. My room leader also, one Ravindra, I forget his second name.
So
Exceptional.
1979 was a change of phase for you completely.
Uh, a golden step to Swami's physical
Swami
proximity.
side. Physical.
Yeah, and those days it
Oh,
was
yeah,
wonderful.
I'm actually curious to ask you another question, just to break the flow in a way. The concept of God, what normally people carry, worship. Normally we train children also before you leave for work or school. Bow down at the altar and go. So you have a kind of an appointment with God during certain time of the day, or maybe on the weekends for Balvikas. So that is a normal introduction to God, and we say, He will look after you. And then you come and see a physical God, 5'4", walking around in front of you, interacting with you, and you start observing His presence in everything what you are doing, what's happening around you. When did it really dawn to you that this is God?
The answer to
Or
that
was it
question is pretty simple. Yeah, the answer to that question is pretty simple. Let's roll back the years. We were practically introduced to Swami as God. Okay, and all that happens when Swami used to come to Chennai several times. He only asked me for the first experience. No, when from about 67 to 79, Swami would have come, let's say, about half a dozen, 10 times. And we as Balvika's children, had the chance of performing, in front of Swami. Or I distinctly remember there was a program where Swami gave us a pencil box with pencils, in one of the, city halls. There, I remember I had to go to school, but I could not because I had to go for Swami's darshan first, and I took the pencil box and went to school after that. So being in Swami's physical presence occasionally, and the 1975 50th birthday opportunity and so on. So the answer to your question, being in Swami's physical presence with the realization that he is God, started all from the first darshan. So I will not be able to give you another expression of what it was. With his grace, it has been a seamless experience.
So you never had this, as growing up. I know at the school days it may not be possible, but as you grown up and you start experiencing life from a non-physical proximity phase, then that dilemma or that differentiation of a physical God versus non-physical God, has it ever appeared to you, or was it
Uh,
all?
Yeah, I should express my gratitude to Swami for never allowing, any differentiation to happen. Never at all. My colleagues with whom I was will also be able to vouch for this. And I know I'm using certain words, and there were several occasions which we can discuss as we progress, where, the seamlessness was in fact the motivation, the driving force that enhance the experience of his divinity.
It's very beautiful. Uh, of course, physical proximity does make the practical experience easier, but that
Absolutely.
faith must continue to understand that. So let us little. I would like to have a little bit more peep into your Vrindavan days, because that is a
Mhm.
very a coveted position for every student who has lived that era. You get a lot of proximity to observe God, to see Avatar in action from that perspective, and bit
Beautiful. Yeah.
informality also. So if you can
Excellent.
just give us a little glimpse of that life and anything which you can remember about interactions or watching him, anything. So I
Before
leave the floor to you.
wonderful. Before I answer that question, let me make one point very clear, Abhimanyu. I know there will be wonderful students, my brothers, other devotees, who might get to watch what I'm saying. ఎందరో మహానుభావులు అందరికీ నా వందనములు. I wish to express that every one of you who has been through Swami's hands is phenomenally unique. I offer my salutation to every one of you. Okay, the foundation for this expression, was also through another interaction with Swami. And having said that, I will go ahead in response to the question that you asked. I will be very brief in my response, Abhimanyu, because I would love you to ask questions. I will
Sure.
quickly rush through, fast forward several things. Swami, in his absolute grace, gave us the chance of, in fact, enjoying his physical proximity in 2 or 3 ways, which are profound. Number one is the new boys in the year 79, at least I remember. I do not know if it really followed the subsequent years, were given the chance to go to have breakfast, lunch, tea, dinner with Swami. We used to go in turns. I remember Srinivas walking up to me and saying, "Tomorrow morning you go for breakfast with Swami." And along with me came a guy called Gurudas Shenoy. I was in my first year BSc, he was in his first year PUC. Okay, PUC is 15 years. When you joined in the 11th class, the 11th class, we walked up, and the divinity, the grace, Swami put us at ease, absolute ease. We were sitting at the same table with Swami. And what did Swami say? Are, please have your breakfast.
Really?
Okay. Because,
That's so
we were
sweet.
literally looking at Swami with folded hands. Swami said, please have your breakfast. Enjoy. Swami will keep talking with you. Don't worry. What is your name? Where are you come from? What are you doing?
Oh.
And I had a typical, I would say, Swami, you know everything, Swami. That is how I would get started, that was one unique chance which you had with Swami. The second unique one was, in Brindavan, uh, like practically, Swami would sit, even in Prashanthi Nilayam, Bhajan Hall, Swami would sit on the throne, and the distance from the throne for boys, even in the first row, was, let us say, 2 feet.
Not even that much.
Yes, which was the same case in Brindavan too. It was the old bungalow. We were practically sitting on Swami's feet, if we can say that.
Yeah.
Swami, I also remember, would sometimes rush into into the crowd of boys, laughing, smiling, when he's especially going towards the animal cage, often when he would come to the hostel. I was also part of the Vedam group, that was a unique opportunity. Incidentally, at home itself, we had started this because the kind of family I come from, Vedams, chanting, pujas were all an integral part of our, whole, experience. So, it was only logical, that I could become a part of the Vedam group. Now, why am I saying that? That has a very important connotation for the experience which I'm going to tell you. Incidentally, I told you I wore the brown Levi shirt. Those days in Brindavan, Abhimanyu, we all used to be only in color clothes. You would hardly find people wearing white clothes. Our students too. Okay. When well, I will elaborate on that as and when an opportunity arises, if required. The most other beautiful part which I told you was the proximity, the physical proximity with Swami. One such, I will elaborate on just two incidents, and I will be brief on that, but they are profound. One evening, Swami asked, when we were sitting around him, what is the meaning of bhakti? You know, no, what is the meaning of devotion? What is the meaning
Devotion.
of devotion? What is the meaning of devotion? He asked in English, devotion ante evati. He was looking around and fortunately gave me the chance when he looked at me. I remember I had the courage. I said, Swami, devotion means bhakti, Swami. Swami said, I'm not asking you for translation. I'm asking you for the meaning of the word. I remember this. Then Swami said, the meaning of the word devotion is love for God and not fear of God. You know, Abhimanyu, that really transformed my thinking, my approach to Swami. You asked, how was it being in Swami's physical presence? This was early in my first year or so, you know, that made that seamless experience even more wonderful. No fear of Swami. It is only absolute love for Swami. And that love also we know is being bestowed by Swami on us. Okay? Imagine moments when Swami in discourse would say, the ultimate divine is here in front of you. How often will one want to hear this? Wanting to hear this out of joy is one thing, but as a lesson, do we want Swami to keep telling us every day that, look, I'm God, I'm with you? When God says that once, it is imbibed and it goes deep into the heart. Intane, ventane, kantane, jantane untunanu. I'm always with you, in your eyes, around you, everywhere. We as students have experience, Abhimanyu. You too, I know how you used to carry that mat of yours and run. You know, I've seen you in Prashanthi Nilayam several times, waiting for Swami, and when Swami would come out, how often would Swami not say, hey, I saw you doing this, I saw you doing that. Where do you think I am? When Swami gives us experiences, these are only to keep building the superstructure of experiencing his divinity. And this happens not every day. It has to happen once in a lifetime, and it remains with us for all lives, right? That way I was extremely fortunate. You know, again, coming back to the color clothes, you know, you see my name, I put it as Gopichandran. That's because Swami used to call me Gopichandran. And one wonderful first starting occasion was when Swami was so kind. There used to be a safe room, you know, safe room. It was called the safe room because there was a metal safe in that room. Swami used to come and sit in a sofa. Only a few boys, you know, Rajkumar Jain, who's still there in Swami's presence.
Yeah, of course.
Rajkumar Jain, yeah, you know, was in charge of that room right from 1977, 78, 79. You know, he's 1 year junior to me. Ruchir, we lost him recently. Ruchir is my junior. Sanjay Sani, you know, he's Sivashankar Sai was my batchmate. Sundareshan was my batchmate in masters and so on. I thought I should mention their names. You know, they are phenomenal people.
They are phenomenal people.
Yeah, you know, Rajkumar. You know, I distinctly remember was in charge of the room. You know, somehow boys used to sneak inside and assemble in that room when Swami would sit. And that one day Swami decided to give me the joy of that experience. I was standing, you know, in the room outside the safe room, which means the safe room has got a wall, it has got a door. Just ahead of the door I was standing, which means in front of me there were 2 or 3 rows of boys. And you know, and we have to look through the boys' arms, shoulders, you know, heads and so on. And then, you know, then suddenly Swami said, hey, Gopichandran. You know, that was the first time in the year 1982, you know, when Swami was so kind to call me by my name. And that's how I put this name Gopichandran here. Swami made me chant Rudram and corrected. Now, I said I'll be brief in my response, but then I, you know, started elaborating.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, no, what I wanted to emphasize here was the freedom with which Swami used to allow our interactions with him. Darshan, you know, Nagar Sankirtan was a common feature. Nagar Sankirtan was a common feature when Swami was in Brindawan. He used to give darshan from the balcony up there. We all used to go in a line singing bhajans for darshan. Swami would stand, and from top, you can enjoy the experience of Swami looking at almost everybody. These were unique moments. And when our turn came that we have to go for our masters or wherever, I also distinctly remember Swami saying, "Go to Prashanthi Nilayam for masters." Hirok was my batchmate, as I said, and who else, from Brindawan, there was this Professor Umesh in physics, Dev Sen in mathematics. We were all batchmates, who came from Brindavan. So the bottom line in Brindavan, another, if I can say trivia, we could be absolutely sure that when any guest turns up, we would all get excellent sweets, in the hostel. Java was one of those devotees who was running that ice cream factory. We used to get loads of ice
Joy.
cream. Yeah,
Joy ice
Joy ice
creams.
cream. Why am I saying this? Why am I saying this? Swami often would also distribute the ice cream and the sweets and whatnot. So when Swami those days would say, please remember to enjoy every moment of these with the consciousness that you are in the presence of the divine. These moments will never come back in your life again. Please remember and consciously enjoy. And when Swami himself says that, don't you think it is our, if I can use the word, duty to respond to the call that he gives, and therefore joyously say, yes, Swami, we enjoyed your divinity every moment.
Let me dig it a little bit. You mentioned a very beautiful thing about devotion when Swami said, Bhakti is love for God and not fear of God. As Swami would always say, there are two sides of the same coin, the good and the bad kind of scenario. So he says, do good, but not do bad also. So this is like stress. So here you mention love for God and not fear of God. Uh, if you can, if you don't mind getting a little bit more into what exactly could we understand by love of God? Is it love
Abhimanyu,
for
you're,
God,
yeah.
love of God?
You're so sweet, and I know every devotee has his or her answer directly,
Yeah,
for this question, depending on their own experiences. Swami, thanks to Abhimanyu for creating this chance, for me to express my perspective of it.
correct. Obviously.
Yeah, no, I salute the perspective of everyone. For that matter, everyone had or continue to have their own experiences with Swami. And why am I saying this? To my mind, the love for Swami or fearlessness with Swami means not ever interpreting what Swami says, to implicitly obey what he is saying, and there could be several messages for the individual, abiding by those and being accountable to practicing those on a one-to-one equation, where, let me dare say, not being guided by another person in Swami's physical presence, having the courage to equate oneself directly with Swami is the firewall that Swami helps build around oneself. So the answer to your question, love for Swami, is implicit obedience and never interpreting what he says.
So you made a very beautiful point here, implicit faith, and you said never allowing anybody in between you and God, because you love Him and that's it. There is no other person getting inside. Cool. Okay, let's look at the second part of it. Not fear of God. Normally there is an element of fear. The fear could be out of respect. It could be out of, uh, decorum or protocol or whatever. How do you differentiate which fear and what fear you mean by?
Yeah, thank you for asking this question. Pardon me if I'm getting a little poetic or if I'm re-emphasizing what I said earlier. M- Uh, I I know who I'm speaking with. You know, you yourself have experienced this divinity as much as anyone else, Abhimanyu. And strangely, I've actually physically been with you during that same period. Okay, so you understand what I'm
Yes,
saying because I know Abhimanyu, the person. Okay, and we have experienced Swami's, if I can say, grace in equal measure and exactly the same circumstances. Now, why do I have to say this? Why do I have to say this? Let me put it on record for the second time. I've seen how well you would very often stand in the first row of the line when we have to go to darshan from the hostel. Okay, how often we would not accelerate when we enter the mandir to rush and go and sit there by spreading a mat. Now, that is another typical example. Where is the decorum in this? Swami would say, hey, cool, cool, cool. Do you know what is this? You're all rushing. You know. Now I'm oversimplifying the decorum by giving a physical example. In a
okay,
subtler, more important context, it means even if thoughts were to occur in our mind, or even if we were interacting with certain people, when we come and stand in His presence, the only thing that occurs in our mind and in our heart is, Swami, you are there, you are watching, you are here, you know everything. I have just to enjoy your grace. Abhimanyu, this is a deeply personal conviction. This is a
why
deeply
not?
personal experience.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Which means, again, what I said earlier, seamlessness and zero fear. I had the chance of mentioning this in Shivam Samarpan, and I have no hesitation in saying this once again. At a personal level, you know, when Swami said Father and Mother of God, and when my God tells me, here is Swami God, I do not have to look anywhere else. My God, who brought me into this world, tells me, look, He is God. And once we know we are in Swami's presence, what else? Zero fear. And I can say that clearly. And what was the point I wanted to make about Father? I started looking at Swami as my father's elder brother. Why should I be afraid of my father's elder brother? Like, I was never afraid of my father because father said, you make a mistake. I know if Satya is listening to this, he will also say, yes, Papa has said this. If you make a mistake, come and tell me before anybody else comes and tells me, and tell me before even I ask you about it. And whatever you did, don't hesitate telling me. I can do everything to protect you, to bring you out of the problem. And when Swami's brother, which is my father's, told me this, I know Swami's elder brother, my father's elder brother, that is Swami, he will take care. And let me tell you this, it has been that way and it will continue to be that way.
Okay, in the same thread, let me ask you another question. And as you can see, I'm asking you question for because I get so many feedbacks, and it'll just clarify many things for people also. How do you define sin? Because Bhagavan says,
Um,
have fear of sin.
it's too complicated a question for me. But, you know, I will not be able to answer that question. Okay, but
Okay, no problem.
if and when I sin, I will have no hesitation in walking up to Swami and saying, Swami, I did this, Swami. I must tell you before you ask me, Swami, please protect me, Swami. No pretense. And I will not be able to answer beyond this.
Certainly, no problem. That's why I said it just comes to me, and I keep asking. It's okay.
I,
It's perfect.
I've
It's
got the
perfect.
courage to give you the answer which I gave
That's
you.
perfect.
Okay?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because love for God and not fear of God will take care that there's no sin in life left. I remember once Bhagwan mentioned to us, they're saying that anything which deviates you from God is sin.
Wonderful. Great.
Simple. Like
Yeah.
it's a fantastic thing. So if I'm doing something which is taken as a right, But if that right takes me away from God, then it is sin for me.
Thank you for allowing this half a minute for me to recall what Swami has specifically said about this. Swami
Please.
would say, we all get all kinds of thoughts in our heads, okay?
Hmm.
But do not translate a wicked thought into action. Think of
Perfect.
Swami and leave it as a
Perfect.
thought inside.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks for bringing that perspective. So nice. Okay, flowing on the same discussion which we're having, I'm tempted to ask you, uh, any other, you know, uh, learning carries, like you had love for God, not fear of God, and never try to interpret God. Is there anything else you can share with us as your learning curves with Bhagawan?
Um, you're so sweet, and this again, I will have to bring a couple of names, and they
Sure.
you know they are such wonderful brothers. I'm in very close contact with them even now. A typical one is Hirok, okay. Another is Dev Sen. One fine afternoon when Swami came back from, okay, the year was 82. I had to take my entrance exam to join MSc in Prashanthi Nilayam. Narayan Sharma was my classmate. Oh my goodness, Narayan Sharma, Prabal Mal, Ashok Agraharam, who's professor still there. These are all, I tell you, quintessential Swami students. And you might ask what? You should have seen the way Ashok, Prabal, Narayan excelled in their research. Profound. I told you I'd watched Ram Prasad, Kamal, and all speak, and I used to wonder. I said, these guys are my classmates, and how wonderful they are. And they have been, Ashok used to do that lighting of the whole mandir.
Yeah, he was
Um,
in
you
charge of
know,
the lighting
yeah,
boys. Yes.
he was in charge of the lighting. I have observed Ashok, Prabal, Narayan, and all. They were so down to earth when they are not in Swami's presence. And when they go into Swami's presence, they continue to be down to earth, but extremely simple, extremely simple. You will never
Humble.
find the names which I mentioned, excited in Swami's presence. There were great moments when Hirok, me, and these boys were all with Swami. And Swami has definitely said, and thanks for inspiring me on it. He would say, don't you know Swami is God? And if Swami is God, which Swami is, what is there to hide from Swami? I've had the blessing, I've had the blessing in the presence of these brothers. When Swami would say, is there anything you can hide from Swami? Don't you think Swami knows everything? And such moments go deep into your head, deep into your heart, you know, and they answer your question. No fear. Array, Swami is everywhere. Swami knows everything. And experiencing that omniscience was a great moment for me as a student there in Swami's presence. And I'll be happy to go into it with your permission. And before that, I would love to say, once Swami gave me the chance of opening the letters, he had received when he was in Brindavan. But when he came back to Prashanthi, all those letters are sack full. And then Swami called three of us, Malikeshwaran, Devsen, and me.
Hmm.
Someone came up to me, I think it was Lakshmi Narasimham, who said, hey, Swami is asking you to go up, in the afternoon. So it was around 2 o'clock, 2:30. We went, and Swami was seated in just a small bench upstairs. There was some cushion. That's it. The Lord of the universe sitting on a bench. And what does he do? On his right is a sack, on his left is a sack, along the wall are sacks of letters. He told us, hey, you fellas, open the letters and give it to me one by one. Okay. We started opening the letters. Time flew past. It was close to darshan. Then Swami said, you fellows must be hungry. Let me organize something for you to eat. So, he organized something for us to eat. We were eating, opening letters and giving it to Swami. What I wanted to emphasize was the simplicity of the environment. Then Swami said, hey, it's darshan time now. You all push off, go and sit downstairs. Then of course Swami would go around for darshan and come back. When we are therefore sitting in a small room with the Lord, thousands of thoughts cross the mind, and then all that we do is recollect what Swami said. Swami is inside you, around you, everywhere. Swami knows, and that translates into one simple action. Swami, you know everything, and keep chanting Sai Ram. That's it.
Beautiful.
I had the chance of going with Swami in the first batch to Kodai, and I'll be happy to share that experience about his omniscience after listening to you.
Okay, you can finish the story if you like. No problem.
You can push me with some questions.
Okay. Now, I was actually looking forward to another dissecting this further. Your statement, never to interpret God.
Wonderful.
Just for clarity of others, and also for us, also, just to clarify it, what do we really mean by never interpret God? Because we have to do some kind of a processing even to follow His words, right? So,
I
is
have no
that
doubts
considered to be
then.
interpretation, or what is interpretation?
See, I am very clear about the boundaries of our discussion. Okay. The
Yeah.
boundaries of our discussion is when Swami in his physical form says something. Okay. Yeah, incidentally, Abhimanyu, 79 to 89, 10 years. I would have gone home hardly for a couple of months in those 10 years. Okay. Um, as I said, enjoying Swami's physical presence, and then listening to him saying that when I know everything, what is it you have to hide from me? Why do you say things which you think I will take, even if I know that what you're saying is not really true? When such messages come from the divine, and when you're actually staying in his physical presence, and that is a boundary of time we are speaking of, okay? A mistake which one should never do, and fortunately some of us never did, and I'm deliberately saying some of us, was to
Sure.
say, hey, Swami said this, but he probably meant something else.
Yes.
If I can
Yes.
dare use the word, I think we are in fact being most ignorant. We are wasting Swami's time and our own time, if I can say that. But to not therefore misinterpret or interpret what he's saying is also an element of his grace, Abhimanyu. Yeah?
Yes.
When Swami
Agreed.
says, do this, immediately a thought would come, Array, probably Swami wants something else, but he's saying something else. I can look in the eye of the camera and I can say, fortunately, some of us, including me, never fell in that dilemma.
That's a huge blessing. That's a huge blessing.
It translated into something profound in my life within those 10 years, and I'll share that experience as we progress.
Sure. So any other, because you are starting off telling me the your takeaways with Lord. So love for God, not fear of God, never try to interpret God, and anything else you want to add to that list?
Implicitly, obeying what he says, which is probably an extension of the first element of learning. Let me get
Yeah.
into something unique. Where does the inspiration for all of this come from? One is, of course,
Okay.
Swami is God. There is no second this one about it. First year MSc, in my first year MSc, I said I came to Prashanthi Nilayam in 82. 82, 83, I had completed my first year MSc. And there was a batch interview one evening. It was a great experience. You know what happens in batch interviews. Swami then gave me the courage to stand up, in fact, kneel in front of him when he completed darshan the next day. And when he came near me, he gave me the courage, I'm repeating it, to say, my mother and my grandmother have come, Swami. My grandmother was coming for the first time. She was in her mid 70s, elder to Swami physically. Okay, elder to Swami physically. My mother, of course, the typical Mahila Vibhag, Bal Vikas Guru, and I can say super humble devotee of Swami. And you also know how Swami's devotees look, when they are so immersed in Swami's work. Yeah. My mother could see me speaking with Swami, which is what I imagine. And then Swami said, okay, call them for the interview. I stood up and I looked at the lady's side, hoping to catch my mother's attention. My mother by then understood. My mother and grandmother started walking towards the interview room. They also came and sat with the rest of the devotees. I hesitatingly went to the front. Then Swami allowed me also inside. We went in, and then my grandmother, we are Telugu, okay?
Hmm.
She, she has seen us doing Swami's bhajans, prayers, and all those. Why am I elaborating on this point? When she entered the room, she saw many people, and she's a very slim person. She was, at 75, 76, she had no problem squatting, getting up, tap tap, and things like this. So she got a place near the wall there. She suddenly stood up, and Swami got into the room. She was laughing, Swami, Swami, very nice. Swami, thank you, Swami. I had your darshan. I'm going. Within a moment, when she entered the room, I remember this. Swami said, no, please sit. I'll talk with you. I'll talk with you. She had no teeth by then. She was giggling, loudly. And my mother was the typical devotee of Swami. She was coming in such close proximity with Swami for the first time. Then Swami called us into the room inside. My grandmother Bindas, and I'm adding that Bindas. She sat in front of Swami. I was doing Pad Seva, my mother, and then Swami looked at my grandmother and said, "Hey, you know what? In your house, you have got that old man, no?" Swami started off this way. My grandmother laughed. He said, "Yeah, Swami, that old man, no." Then Swami said, "I'm talking about your husband." Your old man, this fellow's grandfather, he always sits in the east chair at the entrance of the home, na? She said, "Yes, Swami, he always sits there only." Then Swami said, "I'm in your house, always watching you all." He does not reveal his devotion for Swami, but he has got tremendous devotion for Swami. That old man sitting at the entrance of the house, go and tell him that I've sent my blessings for him. She was thrilled, I was thrilled, my mother was thrilled, and there is a small background to this. I must now humbly tell you, we come from a deeply orthodox spiritual family. Rudram, Chamakam, Upanishads are all way of life in our home. Probably the fruit of all his such actions, invited Swami's attention. So Swami revealing that he is always with us, watching us, was a profound experience when he said, "Go and give him my blessings." Then came something unique for my grandmother. Swami said, "Hey, I told you I'm in your house, I'm watching you all. Why do you serve curd by putting your hand inside the curd vessel and lifting it and serving? You never use the spoon, na? In our homes when curd is prepared,
Yeah,
no?
they just hold it like that.
Yeah, they would use a spoon for serving, no? What my grandmother would do is she would open the lid and put her hand inside the curd, lift the curd and serve us. And this was a way of life. That is how I've seen her right from the time I was born. Swami had a good laugh. He said, "Why do you do it? You serve curd with your hand, and I've been watching you do that." She laughed. She said, "Yes, Swami, yes, Swami. That is how I serve curd, Swami." I believe it is some kind of a traditional way in homes. And what I wanted to say was, Swami gave us the joy of his omniscience. And then he turned to my mother and said, "I'm very happy." By the time mother was enjoying the divinity of, Swami. And then Swami gave me the chance, therefore, they came all the way from Chennai. They were there and they were interacting with Swami for the first time. Imagine, this is one of the first direct physical experiences of Swami's omniscience. And there is a story as to why am I only sticking to my small world. There is no ego, but there is sheer joy in using the word my. And there is another story to that.
Sure, go ahead, finish that.
Sanjay Sani, Abhishek Dubey, these
Yeah,
names, Sandipan
yes, yes.
Chatterjee, when they were all with us when we were there. Abhishek Dubey is now a part of the group that Vinayak has formed, as a WhatsApp group. We are just a small group of people, Kanta Rao, Tribhuvan Sachdev, Dhruv Sachdev, these are all people, Neil Bordeloy, these are all people in that group. What a wonderful group, the most inspiring, if I can say, group of students there. Hirok is part of it. We are all there, and messages about Swami fly 24/7, even now, which happens. Now, why am I telling you this? Sandeepan, Sanjay Sani, Abhishek Dubey, and myself were called by Swami for what Swami called an interaction before giving speeches during Dashara time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Swami sent word, and four of us landed in the green room in Purnachandra Hall.
Brindawan Hall.
Swami,
Yeah.
yeah, Swami was there already. It was morning. We four walked in. Swami made us sit around him, and Swami said, "Look, I want to tell you how to speak when you all give speeches."
Beautiful. Yeah.
There comes two wonderful lessons, two, three very important lessons, which I imagine I reflect in my speaking with you also now. What did Swami do? Swami materialized a Balu Shahi for us, for the four of us. It was dripping with ghee. Swami powdered it and gave it to the four of us and said, "Eat. This is right from Swami's hands." And then Swami said, "Do you know this is made of the purest ghee?" And then he made us smell his palm. And then Swami said, "Look, whatever Swami does is purest." Number one. Number two, he gave us a great lesson in speaking. He said, if somebody gives you half an hour for speaking, don't speak for more than 20 minutes.
Love it.
He went a step further. He said, you should not keep people guessing, when will this fellow stop? Amazing. I had the fortune, you asked, no, Swami's divinity, looking at his
Beautiful.
divinity through our eyes. Oh, so Sanjay is 3 years junior to me. Same with Sandeepan and with Abhishek. And what wonderful brothers they are and they were. Profound. Okay. Now, what is the next lesson Swami gave? Swami said, when you're speaking to a group of people, speak about only your own experience. That was another moment when Swami said, do not interpret. You have an experience, share that experience.
Share that.
And don't preach. That was a great lesson, Swami said clearly. Don't preach. So the lessons are, be brief, speak only about your experiences and don't interpret. These are very important lessons. And then came something profound, Abhimanyu. Swami said, when you are speaking in a group again, if there are people who are your peers, who also have had wonderful experiences, involve them in your talking. How often did you not see when I referred to you, when I referred to so many people?
So I think this is a training of Bhagawan.
For inclusiveness, there is nothing top down. And I have had the fortune of experiencing that directly from Swami.
So beautiful. It's such a mind-boggling thought that Lord of the Universe coming down to teach us the nuances of public speaking, Please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Endaro Mahanubhavalu, andariki na vandanamulu. Everyone is wonderful, unique. Thank you, Swami, for giving me this chance through Abhimanyu and this forum, just to share the joy. Now came something amazing. And now I must tell you, even the research facilities. You know what? Swami came to our laboratory. He visited the places where we were working. The biosciences laboratory, I remember. So Swami had come there. I'm still in the year 83, 84. 85 was the time when we joined our PhD. Again, we had to face the firewalls of interviews. We had to face experts. We had to get selected, um, and then we joined our PhD. The year was 1985, Swami's 60th birthday. By the time, like my brother had joined Brindavan, he joined the year 82. Incidentally, Abhimanyu, he is 1 year senior to you by age, but
Yeah.
then he repeated 12th class.
Yeah.
And there is a beautiful story to that. Can I take a minute on that?
Sure, sure. Please. No problem.
Wonderful. Um, Satya joined Brindavan in 82, and I came over in 82 to Prashanthi Nilayam. 82
Prashanthi.
to 84, I need not get into some finer details, but the amount of love Swami poured on him, was fantastic, amazing. Um, 84, before the 12th class examinations, Satya got chicken pox. Okay. And what would Swami do in Brindavan? Swami was in Brindavan that time. Unfortunately, I couldn't put my hands on that photograph. Swami, from the old bungalow, would go to the hostel where he was. And can you imagine? Swami organized a room for him in the next hostel building and not the main hostel building. Swami wanted him
Okay.
to be isolated. There were some boys who were taking care of him. Swami
Mm-hmm.
would go up and down every day,
Oh my God.
sit in front of him, take
Oh
care
my
of him.
God.
What love and affection Satya has received. Amazing, amazing. And he naturally, if I can say, could not clear the 12th class examinations. He was in maths, economics, commerce, accounts group. And what did Swami do? After he got well, Swami said, hey, don't worry, it's all right. He should not feel bad. No. So Swami said, spend 1 year in Prashanthi Nilayam. Swami brought him over. So 84 to 85, he was sitting in the veranda in front of Swami 1 full year and would stay in the old hostel.
Oh,
Morning,
beautiful.
afternoon, evening, night darshans.
I don't mind chicken pox.
1 full year. And what did Swami do when his exams came? He said, "Yaar, please go finish your exam, do something about it. Write your exam, don't worry, Swami will take care. Finish your exam and come back to Prashanthi." So he went for about a week to Brindavan to do his repeat 12th class examinations and came back. Then the entrance exam in 85, along with you, came up. He also had to take the entrance. And then Swami said, let him not go to Brindavan back. Let him stay in Prashanthi Nilayam. And that's how he became your classmate, from 85 to 90. He was also part of the Brindavan, Vedam group. And you all also used to, you were also part of the group that used to serve the
Well,
vice chancellors along with
yeah,
Srinivas.
my batchmates were there. I was not there,
Yeah,
but yeah, my
yeah.
classmates were there.
Yeah,
Sainath,
yeah,
Sanjeev
Sainath was
Abhi,
there.
many.
So, yes, Sanjeev Abhi. Then one Srinivas was also there.
Srinivas, Srinivas.
Yeah. So Satya was with you all. And what was profound about those, in 85, I remember the Hillview Stadium Swami's 60th birthday came up. I was there. By the time, in 1 year PhD had got over, Chakravarti Garu came to me in all that crowd, he came looking for me. He said, tomorrow is convocation. Swami has said that Ashok Agraharam and you have to carry the institute flag, and walk with Swami. My parents were also there. This was another way of, giving a blessing. It was 60th birthday time. He said, if you look for Ashok, if you find him anywhere, just go and tell him that tomorrow morning, he has to join the procession. So we both promptly landed up there, and we carried the institute flag, and walked with Swami to the stage and back from the stage. Oh yes, thank you. It was a glorious opportunity, to be able to walk with Swami up and down. This was the year 85, which I told you, Swami's 60th birthday. Okay, and 86. I will be brief now, but I just wanted to share the joy of having experienced Swami's omniscience. 86, Swami said, Like one fine morning, Swami left for Brindavan, and we were all in the hostel. I remember my name being called out by the warden. I said, "What is happening?" Went to the main entrance, and what did we hear? A list of names. Warden read out. He said, "The bus will come. All of you have to get ready by afternoon and go to Brindavan because Swami is taking you to Kodaikanal." That was the first batch. That was the first
Okay.
batch. We went, and there could be several other occasions. Sai Surendranath has spoken about this, how people got selected into that group, what was the
Yeah.
arrangement, and so on. And then came
Mm.
something amazing in Kodaikanal. Shivashankar Sai was with me, Umesh, Dev Sen, Ravi Kumar, who's there in Vrindavan. We were all there. Now comes the most wonderful, another personal experience of Swami's omniscience. Swami walked up to me one evening and said, "Are you prepared to speak today in the evening?" My typical answer: Swami knows everything, and I will do whatever Swami says. Typical response. Swami said, "Be ready, because after some time one guest will come. And the guest will say, 'I want to
I
listen to
like
your
that.
voice speak.'" Swami said this. He revealed this. Umesh was sitting next to me. Umesh merged with Swami, later,
Yeah,
being
recently.
in Brindavan. Yeah.
Yeah,
He,
yeah.
he in fact nudged me. He said, "Hey, yaar, wonderful, yeah, great, enjoy." You know, um, we both are sitting and Swami standing in front of us and Swami telling us. Then Swami said, "You speak about environment because like I was doing a PhD in environment. Be ready." Then Swami said, "Look, let me go out, give darshan, and come back." Literally, he said this. "I'll go give darshan and come back. Be ready." Um, what will be our reaction when Swami is saying, I was thrilled, but fortunately conscious and enjoying that thrill. And when Swami came back, we were all sitting around Swami. It started drizzling. It started drizzling. And in a short while, a guest arrived. And who is that guest? He is Bharat Ratna, Dr. C. Subramaniam, who was one of the architects of India's Green Revolution, but has been Swami's devotee for very long. Now they see Subramaniam arrives, it's already dark, and I'm giving you that setting. It's already dark, devotees have gone away. We are sitting around Swami. And what does Swami say? Swami says, this the typical thing, when a guest arrives, he is served tea, there is a lot of laughter, happiness, and so on. Half an hour is gone, and then Swami says, "So Subramaniam, you come all the way. What do you want?" Subramaniam says, "Swami, I want to listen to your voice speak, Swami. About many, many things." And then Swami asked, "These chaps, you give them any topic under the sun, they'll speak." You know, you can ask Ravi Kumar also, Shivashankar
So
Sai,
sweet.
Shivashankar Sai was with
So
me.
sweet, huh?
And then Swami asks, "Kuch topic, tell some topic."
Hmm.
And what does Subramaniam say? "Swami, there are many environmental challenges, Swami. I want to listen to one of your boys speak about environment, Swami." I'm getting goose pimples when I'm saying this. Swami looks around and I put my hand up. Swami said, "Come, speak." I spoke for an hour. Okay, I spoke for an hour. I've sent you those pictures also. With Swami opening the uh, pan box.
The pan box. Yes, yes, I'll show that. Yeah.
Yeah. And there is one before that, where Swami has, like he has stretched his arm like this. I spoke for an hour. At the end of 1 hour, oh yes, this was one moment, and there is one more. No, before this maybe. This was when Subramaniam was still there, but after Ravi Kumar spoke, and I'll tell you about that also. I
Hmm.
thought I had sent one more image. Oh yes, this is the one. Okay, after I spoke, you know, for 1 hour, Swami asked Subramaniam, "Are yaar, this fellow has stopped speaking. Do you know 1 hour time has gone by? Was it not like pouring rain?" Swami asked. And for all that, Swami made me speak. Okay. And then you know what Swami says? He patted me, and then I said, Swami, you made me speak, Swami. It was one. Then Swami said, I know, I know. He patted me. I went and sat. And then Swami tells Subramaniam, why don't you give another topic? You know, I told you my students can talk whatever you give them. And then he says, Swami, recent developments in the field of chemistry, Swami. And then Swami tells, hey, Ravi Kumar, your area is chemistry, now come and speak. So Ravi Kumar also spoke after me. And after that, it was, again, Swami was immensely happy. And after that, Swami got into a discourse mode. And at that time, Swami materialized that lingam. He said that was the shape of the universe when it was forming. Yes, that is the one. It had beautiful dark orange streaks on it. We were all seated around Swami only, at that moment of time. This is in the first trip, Kodaikanal. Now you can still see those orange, brownish kind of patches there.
So this, he said, is a lingam when the universe was being formed?
He said this is a manifestation of how it was when the universe was being formed.
Beautiful.
We were all there. And Divakar was also there at that time. Sai Surendranath was there with us. Kantaro, Giridhar. There is a picture of all of us in that. You can see all those. And you know all of them by name. Ratnakar was also with us in that batch. Yeah. And this one of the light moments, when Swami was enjoying his fun that time. So we spent some time with Swami in Kodai, and then Swami packed us off in the bus after a few days for us to go to Ooty. He said, I'll take you all to Ooty, chalo, let's go. And on the way, Swami joined us in the bus, in the forest. I distinctly remember Swami showing us herds of deer, some wild animals. And then Swami said, they have all come for my darshan. I remember distinctly because I was putting my head from behind him, in the bus. Swami was seated next to Kantarao, in the bus seat. Oh, wonderful. I distinctly remember when Swami got into the bus, typical of me, I was typical of me, and I can say that, I was at the back. Now I wouldn't rush and fall on Swami. I'm saying that deliberately. Oh yes, that's me. Behind Sridhar. No.
Yeah. Here.
Behind. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's me. And
that is Sridhar.
Yeah. And
that
this
is
guy.
Divakar.
Yeah, and next to Sridhar is a guy called Vidyanath. In the grey sweater. Then Vijay Kumar of Biosciences. And next to Divakar is Sai Surendranath also.
Oh yeah, here is Sai sir. Yeah, Sai sir.
Sai sir, yeah.
Divakar, Sai sir.
Yeah. And behind Swami, just behind Swami's hair on the top, I think is Teja, the flute player.
Oh, Ravi Teja?
Yes.
Yes, quite possible. Okay.
Yeah, we were all there. And then, I remember Swami walking into the bus and I was standing right behind. Swami came straight to me and asked, did you eat something for breakfast? What did you eat? I said, Swami, you have packed so much in the bus, Swami. There were sacks, loads of food. I said, Swami, we had your prasadam, Swami. I remember that moment. And then Swami went and sat there. We were all around with Swami. Then Swami took us to Ooty. Those sweaters were purchased by Swami for us. There is another picture which I had sent you. Swami bought hats and sweaters for us, in Kodai. And then we went to this one, Ooty. In Ooty also we stayed with Swami in the same bungalow. Oh yes, yeah. Here you can see everyone, including Dareshwar, poor fellow, who passed away recently.
Yeah, here's Arun Dareshwar.
Yes,
he left us.
Yeah.
That is Divakar. That is Shiv Shankar Sai. He
Yeah,
had a super annuity now.
I
That
know.
is
I
Ravi
was there.
Teja.
Yeah,
That is Sridhar.
Giridhar,
Giridhar
yeah,
Sridhar, yeah.
Giridhar Sridhar, Dev Sen,
Dev Sen, Sai
Sai
Surendranath, Ravi
Surendranath,
Kumar
Ravi
Sen,
Kumar, yeah, and that Vidyanath who I told you,
Vidyanathan,
Kantarao,
Kantarao.
yeah, 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 yeah,
This is Prasad Rao,
yeah, Prasad Rao, uh,
Umesh.
Umesh, yeah. It was super, super,
Beautiful.
and and a cool group. This, like they were all in unison with Swami because of his blessing, and not that hyper type, if I can use that word. Very spontaneous, and Swami gave us that joy, of experiencing that. We then proceeded to Brindavan, and after we reached Brindavan, one wonderful thing happened in my life. We were seated in Trai. Swami came up to me and said, I want you to speak now before bhajans about all the experience you had during your trip in Kodai and in Uti. And then he asked me, uh, are you prepared to translate my discourses? I said, yes, Swami, always ready. He said, Siddhanga undu, which means be prepared. Chance ostundi. He said, you will get your chance. Okay, be ready to translate Swami's discourses. As I said, my mother tongue was Telugu, and we've been living in Swami's presence. So I said, how wonderful is this chance? And, then I mentioned all the experience we had. Then we came away. 86 got over. 87, the Bhajagovindam thing started. And in 88 we traveled with Swami to this one. By the time my PhD was getting over, and then I was most fortunate to be part of the drama, the Adi Shankara drama. Okay. Now, what is interesting for me, particularly there, I'm seated right in front, seated right in front. You know, was again to experience the grace and the excellence Swami infused in his wonderful voice. I do not know if you can lay your hands on the video of the Adi Shankara drama. I will come to this. This has got a unique story. Between 86 and 87, till we completed all this drama, if I can say, Swami was upset with me. And why was he upset? One day Nanjundaya sir walked up to me and said, Swami is very angry with you. He sent word. Just the previous day, Swami was in the hostel, and I was serving food. Swami looked at me, gave me the chance. I smiled, and Swami allowed Pad Namaskar. Everything was wonderful. Next day, Nanjundaya comes up to me and says, Swami is very upset with you. I said, why, what happened, sir? Please tell me, sir. That time I was delighted. You know why? First of all, Swami remembers. And then Swami sends word. He says, your hair is a bit long. Swami is very upset with you. Swami wants, wants you to cut your hair. Probably my hair overreacted, and which is why I've lost all my hair, as it were. And from that time till that photo which you showed, I traveled with Swami in Mumbai, and in Bangalore we did another performance, and something happened backstage, which is that picture. If you can show that picture once again,
Sure,
where
sure.
where Swami is adjusting my robe. No,
Yeah. Hmm.
just before Swami adjusted the robe, he gave me a tight slap. Okay. Yeah, no, you see him, actually holding my shoulder. Swami gave me a tight slap. Then he said, Pad Namaskaram Chesko. Yeah.
So
That,
sweet.
one and a half years of not speaking, all ended with that one slap. You know, and that is I'm so grateful to whoever captured that moment. For me, and this is a lifetime experience. Before and during that period, as I said, something amazing happened. My grandpa passed away, Remember that experience of that old man who Swami referred to?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I got the message. I then reached the mandir. I know going back after the morning bhajans, I was in the hostel. I received a phone call, and my papa said, "Your grandpa has passed away." I rushed to the mandir. Lakshminarasimham sir opened the door. I said, "Sir, please, if possible, kindly inform Swami that my grandpa has passed away and Papa has wanted us to convey this." Within about 5 minutes, he came back to me with a lot of vibhuti packets in his hand. And you know what he tells me? Swami said, Gopi must go to his father and the rest of the family with this prasadam and tell everyone in the family and his father especially that his father has reached Swami. Okay, so that was the greatest service Swami gave me the
Beautiful.
chance to do to my father and to my grandfather by allowing us the joy of his omniscience. You said looking at his glory through our eyes. And this is something I had the greatest fortune of experiencing. What greater joy can I have in my life than going to my father to tell him that his father has reached Swami's feet and Swami has conveyed the message and has given vibhuti.
Beautiful.
I think my life is fulfilled with that. Okay, um, so it's been a profound experience that way. And
Go
then
away if I
comes
may.
that.
Yeah, sure, sure. Please.
Sorry. After you.
No, I was actually, I'm tempted to ask you something. That all of that, what you have shared so far, is so amazing, and I can't help but express that even to receive that is a grace of God. To
Which
have that kind of
exactly,
an, yeah, to
well,
have that
which,
attitude,
yeah, yeah.
to have that acceptance, to be ready for Him, because I know how He can play with each one of us. He can do anything. So giving you that opportunity, and it that's why it calls me and for another thought that all of that requires an amazing faith or trust in God. Sorry, trust in God. This is like a premise which He builds with all these experiences with people. He gives us that kind of a faith foundation, trust in God. How do you look at it, and how would you share this understanding of what is trust in God mean, and how to
I,
how to
yeah,
work on it?
I go back to thank you for prompting with this. And as you know, we are discussing extempore on this. Yeah.
Yes, sure, sure.
Um, I again go back to the dedication I offered to my parents for introducing us to Swami as God. So even day to day living, and successes in that living become an acceptance of the truth that it is His grace, and that mutually reinforces the trust and faith. I can now thank you for prompting me, and I must remind Satya about this wonderful experience. My mother is still with us. Rather, we are with our mother. I must say that. My mother will definitely vouch for this experience, and I'm going to share that experience. Okay, Satya was. You know what, Abhimanyu? Being a Balvika's kid, even before Satya started walking, you know, Satya was born in 67 and I was a Balvika student in 67, 68. The value of brotherhood, the value of love, trust are all enormous. So with Satya and with you and with all, it is only absolute love. Okay? When I have seen him grow, he was a frail guy. He was a frail guy. Okay, he suffered one kind of throat infection. I remember we rushing to the doctor, and the doctor said, if you do not bring this medicine from wherever you are within the next 24 hours, I'm not sure we will be able to save him. Okay, I remember, I can very clearly say this. Papa and me went to a shop deep in the inner parts of the city And I remember Papa saying, just pray to Swami, Swami will take care. Pray to Swami, Swami will take care. I remember distinctly all along. So you are asking a person who has grown in that kind of an environment. Number one. Number two, I told you very clearly there were some classic moments when Swami had categorically told some of us that, is there anything you can hide from Swami? Swami knows everything. And one also gets glimpses of his omniscience. It cannot be otherwise. I cannot sound more
Beautiful.
intelligent than this.
No. It's perfectly fine.
And I
Okay,
will
with
conclude.
all
Yeah,
of
sorry.
this, with all of this, we say no. The hook is so strong that it is sometimes unimaginable for a student at that time that we would ever leave his physical presence. But then destiny has to work his way, and the time comes when you are asked to leave. How did your departure happen? If you don't mind quickly sharing that.
I will not only not mind, I will use that as a theorem to give the proof that it is best not to ever interpret what he said.
Okay.
Yeah. There were occasions, moments in my life when Swami said, you will always be in Swami's presence, Swami's service. Okay. He even told my mother about it. And then there were occasions, when Swami would also indicate, it's equally important to go out. If you are not listening to your own father and mother, you have heard Swami say that. How can I be sure that you will listen to what I'm saying?
What I'm saying, sure.
Yeah. And if I see you disobeying your parents, I'm sure you will disobey me also.
Me
Swami has
also.
said that. Yeah. Now, these moments reinforce my feeling that I should never, ever, you know, do or even attempt to interpret what Swami is saying. When my turn came, again, I told you once Swami was upset with me. Yeah, and that only brought me greater joy that Swami was remembering, and then he sent word. 89 June, I'd got my PhD, and during the convocation, something amazing happened. I walked up on the stage and I knelt in front of him. As I told you, I had the blessing of being part of the first batch of PhD, first batch of MSc also. And what does Swami do? His grace. He is the master of the universe. And what does he do? He tells the vice chancellors sitting in the chairs next to
The
him.
guest.
He says, this chap, his brother is sitting there. His father and mother know nothing other than Swami. They have been in Swami's service for years. And these boys, they know only one thing, and that is Swami, and Swami is God. They don't know anything else. And Swami takes care of them. I remember distinctly Swami saying this when I was kneeling in front of him. I'm sure Swami would have done this with millions of other devotees. But this gives me an opportunity to express my gratitude to him on this. Coming back to that story. 89, I went to the hostel. One fine morning in June, the warden says, hey, Swami has kicked you out of the hostel. I'm delighted because Swami remembers, he sends word, yeah. And along with me, there are some, if I can say, big names. I said, again, that awe of Swami's students, no? Said, Hare, there are big names here. It's fine with me also. Let me join them. Okay. I do not know if I can mention those big names, but they were real wonderful names.
Oh, it's so
Wonderful,
sweet.
wonderful, super wonderful Swami students who are on the cutting edge of excellence. Okay. And they are wonderful boys, even now as of date. They are wonderful Swami students. I go, and then for 1 month, Swami doesn't talk with us. Okay, mid-June to mid-July, something like that, early June to early July. Then my colleagues say, one day, let us all go catch Swami, ask him for pardon, pardon us and whatnot. So by the time I get a message internally, if Swami has kicked me out, is Swami, is that a clear message from Swami? So I pray saying that, Swami, whatever it is, please tell me clearly. I'll be happy to, I will abide by whatever you say. I've spoken many times in Swami's presence, I told you. Yeah. And Swami then used to call Gopichandran. That's how it used to. It was joy. Now, on this particular occasion, it was July 1989. Swami said he will deliver a series of discourses from within the Prashanthi Mandir. And Market Abhimanyu, that was the first time in our stay that Swami was giving a discourse from inside the mandir. Okay? From inside the mandir. Great. Unimaginable thing happened with me. Registrar Chakravarti comes to me and says, tomorrow before discourse, Swami wants you to speak. I said, what is this? I'm, Swami was upset with me. Then Swami kicked me back into the hostel. And now Swami wants me to speak. Oh, wonderful. Swami, great. Swami remembers. So next evening, I sit right in the front along with the bhajan boys. Swami completes darshan, interviews and all, and comes to give the discourse. When he's seated on the throne, I go for Padnamaskar because I know I'm supposed to stand up and speak. Swami takes his feet away. He's angry with me, He doesn't allow me to touch his feet also. But somehow I managed to touch his feet. Swami turns his face away, and he looks outside where boys are sitting in the veranda. I have to go and stand and speak because he's asked me to send word. I again speak for 45 minutes. I don't look at, I'm not getting a signal from Swami asking me to stop speaking. I've been speaking 45 minutes, I'm speaking. And my heart and mind gave me the chance to speak with Swami through my talk. Saying that, Swami knows everything. Swami gave me the chance to be in Balvikas, just as a rewind to attract his wonderful attention, And then I tell Swami knows I was in Balvikas. Swami knows I did this. And then Swami gave that experience in Kodai. I gave a snapshot of everything. And then I must stop, no? I'm wondering whether I should stop, not stop. I spoke for 45 minutes. And after I spoke, I was trying to look at Swami, but Swami is looking that side. So I said, Swami probably wants me to stop, which is what I said in my talk also. And then I said, Swami, I'm most grateful to you. You know everything, Swami. I concluded that way and again went for Pad Namaskar. Swami had to stand up to give his speech, discourse. What Swami did was he kicked the stool inside and kicked my face outside. You can imagine, right? Like when Swami pushes the stool inside, correct? Yeah, from the throne when he's getting down, you must have seen Swami do that, no?
Usually he does that for bhajan ending, bhajans.
Exactly.
Close the bhajan.
Exactly. And now he has to stand up and give the discourse, right? So he kicked the stool inside and kicked me on my face. Wonderful. I was seated right in front. And Swami started the discourse. Yeah. Swami started the discourse. And during the discourse, abruptly Swami looks at me and says, this fellow sitting in front? Gopichandran. Swami mentioned my name in the discourse. Joy was oozing and I was thrilled. Then Swami goes on in the discourse to say, this fellow Gopi, he is trying to tell everybody or trying to remind me that he went through Balvikas, that he went in Brindawan. He is trying to remind me, right? And then he says, Swami is God. And he, after saying that Swami is God, he even said, we must listen to whatever Swami says. But do you know, he is the first fellow who doesn't listen to me. So I want him to go outside and he is saying he'll stay here. What is this? This was the message Swami gave in the discourse directly. Can I ask for a greater blessing than this? No interpretation of what he's saying. Okay? Bhajan got over. I was thrilled. I was so happy. What blessing, greater blessing can you get than Swami mentioning your name in the discourse? Swami must have done that for several people, I'm sure. but he gave me that blessing, and that is his grace is what we experience through our eyes. Then came something profound. I go back to the hostel. Um, I got my message clearly. I was saying, go and look at the grace. Next day, Darshan, I'm seated there. Swami doesn't look at me. He goes inside the interview room. Intuitively, I knew that I'm going to get a message because he didn't call anybody for interview. I knew, I was absolutely sure, the voice from within saying that either Swami is going to call me inside or I'm going to get a message. I was seated there. I saw Chakravarti going into the interview room. I knew absolutely sure this was going to be for me. And bang, he walks towards me and he says, get up, come. So I walk with him, go past the car garage, stand in front of, that staircase to the Prashanthi upstairs, that quarters and all this. You can visualize that. So
Yeah,
I went
East
and stood
Prashanthi,
next
East
to him.
Prashanthi side. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I was standing there with him. And you know what he says? Swami is extremely happy with you. Swami says he will always be with you and protect you throughout wherever you are. So go with his love and go with his blessing. Swami is extremely happy with you. And Swami wanted me to communicate this to you. And Swami said, let him go and sit in the Hyderabad bus before the bhajan gets over. Because boys will come running and ask him, what did Swami say? What happened? Where are you going? Okay. So I offer my pranam, go to the hostel, pick a few things, and go and sit in the Hyderabad bus. And I'm going away. Those days we did not have the mobile phone or whatever, I meet Satya. I think I came back for something. I don't remember also. Satya was still there. This was 89 and you were all there till 90.
Yeah,
Yeah?
90. So, yeah.
Yeah. Swami next day walks up to Satya and asks Satya, where is Gopi? I don't see him here. He said, Swami, you said yesterday in the discourse that he should go. And you have sent blessings, Swami. That is why he has gone, Swami. And then Swami says, I know. Good, I'm very glad. I'll take care. So he told this to Satya. After that, till this moment too, it's been one seamless, absolute protection of Swami's grace.
Yeah, it's such a blessing to hear also. I would say, even for a normal saint, to achieve this kind of equality to receive Lord's command, whether it appears to be good or not so good, or sometimes we interpret and confuse ourselves. I think it is such a blessing to have that grace to be able to receive as it comes and enjoy the journey.
It is
So
also
even,
because, sorry, I dare intervene.
sure, please.
When I told you with the big names, Swami sent me out. I was delighted. Intuitively, I experienced a message. Okay, and when I say it's my own mind, my thinking, it is again Swami's grace. It is better to stay in the world outside and have our thoughts at his feet than to be inside and have our thoughts outside.
Outside. Perfect.
This thought occurred
Perfect.
to me. I'm sure this occurs to wonderful other devotees, but then since I've got this chance, I'm expressing it. I'm able to recollect those thoughts in my head.
So beautiful. But yeah, if I may ask you, all these years, have passed, and I'm sure the experience of having Bhagawan in and around our life is constant and is eternal. But the same blessing has not been on your children. And I understand you have two lovely daughters. How do you see impact of Bhagawan on their lives, since they didn't have any physical, contact and relationship with Swami.
Hmm.
As a
Uh,
parent,
yeah.
if you have to observe
Yeah.
it.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is such an important question. And those sweet children also ask me, if only Swami was here physically now, don't you think Swami would have given us his love and blessing? And my
Mhm.
answer to them is quite naturally, absolutely. There
Of
is no
course.
doubts about it. Now, going ahead, my second daughter went to Balvikas in the city of Ahmedabad. My elder daughter, we carried her as she was an infant to Brindawan campus for Swami's darshan. But the most beautiful part is, they have been watching not only me. I must take this chance to salute my brother as a Balvikas kid and a Swami's wonderful student. In fact, in our home, we call him Fire Brigade. Fire Brigade. Any challenge at home, he says, Swami will take care, I'm there, don't worry, we will handle it. And he's so cool, so cool. Children have in fact said that, is this how Swami's boys behave? And on a couple of occasions when I have not really lived up to Swami's expectation, I remember my daughter, my younger daughter, my elder one saying, hey, Papa, you know what? Swami's students don't behave this way. You know, come back, be Swami's own boy, and that is what we like. In my elder
What a
daughter's
reminder.
case, yeah, I'll take just a minute for an interesting story. And that is again to say how Swami protects. Can I?
Sure, sure, please.
Yeah, and that is more to underline that theorem, that fact, that Swami is everywhere. He sent word, I'll take care of you. My daughter's marriage was getting confirmed, and in our terms, it translates into a ceremony, where the marriage is confirmed. Fortunately, it went according to tradition in the best manner possible, which again is a million percent Swami's grace alone. And what happens, to cut this wonderful long story short, we are from Ahmedabad, as you know. And we travel from Ahmedabad to the city of Chennai because the boys' family, they're also Telugu, and extremely learned family. They are from the town of Tanjore, and this ceremony is normally done at the bridegroom's family place. The bridegroom's father organizes this ceremony in a hall, and I was told that this was being the first event in that brand new hall. None of us know anything about the contours of that town, though historically my family, Papa's family, and all have been there. And the best part of the story, the ceremony was about to happen. I continue in my heart expressing my gratitude to Swami for bringing such a wonderful family. We all walk into that brand new hall, and what do I see in that hall? When I open the closed office room, it was a closed office room. That was the first time ever I was entering that hall. I opened the door and I say Swami's Abhay Hasta picture there. Okay. Now, like I for a moment, no, I won't want to over emotionalize, even in a conversation like this. But I know how I felt. I said, Swami, I distinctly remember. I said, Swami, Swami Abhay Hasta. I said, what other greater blessing can a parent get when the ceremony is about to commence? I asked the person who turns up in that room a few moments later, how did the Swami's picture come here? He said, oh, in a casual manner. He said, sir, the owner of this building is Swami's devotee. And he's also part of Satyasai activities. I think his children are also part of the Balvikas or something like that. That is why Swami's picture is here. I have no words to say anything beyond this.
That is his, I would say, trademark way of showing that he's always there. Even before we can think of him, he's there. I remember, Bhaiya, let me close with this statement. once Swami had an opportunity to talk, when this occasion comes, and some boys were sitting there with Bhagawan, and somebody said, Swami, we think of you always. Do you ever think of me? Can you imagine a very childish kind of question to Bhagawan? That Swami, we are always so far off, different places, and we think of you always, Swami. Do you think of us? Do you think of me? And immediately Bhagavan responded, Era, because I think of you, you think of me.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So, since you said you're closing, I must offer my gratitude once again to Swami for bringing such a wonderful family. Also, my wife, who are all typical, uh, wonderful souls. If I can say that, and a wife as a person also keeps reminding me, hey, you are Swami's student, no? So we expect certain things from you. you know. Uh,
So you're always on the toes.
on the toes, but it is, again, if I can go back to that wonderful word, seamless. It's seamless, protection at work, continuing to have I also remember when Papa merged with nature. When Papa merged with nature, he was in Ahmedabad. He was absolutely happy. I thank you for giving me those few moments. I remember
Sure, please.
calling up Prashanthi Nilayam. I remember again leaving word, if I'm right with Sivashankar Sai or with Lakshmi Narasimhan, saying that please convey to Swami. I remember saying this distinctly in 2003. Most grateful, gratitude, the only value with which we live. Jai Sai Ram.
It's so beautiful. Always looking back at Bhagavan, remembering those beautiful interactions and how he has carried us, I would say. I don't dare to even say that I have done something or we have walked. He has literally carried us all through, and he's still carrying it. So it is
Absolutely.
so nice of you, Bhaiya, to open up and share such a beautiful journey and a perspective on Bhagavan. We could get another glimpse on him. It's such a beautiful thing.
Can
If you have
I
any
tell?
final words for all of us, please.
Abhi, I was just about to say that, how, could I ever imagine in 89 that the same Abhi who I knew was carrying a rolled mat in his hand, will in 2021 say, come on, let's speak about Swami. Okay, 21 plus
Yes,
11,
sir, yeah.
32 years later. This again is entirely Swami's grace. There were other wonderful occasions in life when even during this COVID period, and I assure you, I'll stop in just a minute. Such wonderful people in Prashanthi Nilayam, our own boys, and in the city of Bangalore, Desikan, for instance, and his team, Akhilesh Khare, who was in Prashanthi Nilayam at that point of time, Pradeep in the Department of Biosciences, Himanta from Radio Sai. Why am I mentioning these names? They took direct personal care of my mother, who was in Prashanthi in Puttaparthi at that time, living with my Mausi, her sister. Her sister has been there right from 87 onward. She's been living there only outside. These are wonderful students, wonderful boys of Swami. My own batch, Narayan Sharma, excellent people. We know Lakshmi Narasimham for Chakravarti Garu, if I can say, Sanjay, whose name I mentioned. Uh, who else? I feel fortunate having been a part of this wonderful group. I will give my best, living up to Swami's expectations.
I hope we can find another occasion to continue our conversations and bring more flavors of our brothers and think of Swami, because dimensions are million. Even we have, I think, with you also, I've only scratched the surface. So probably let's pray to Bhagavan that we get another opportunity to come together and take it further.
I promise you I'll continue in the same strain and I'll do better next time, which is what is expected of Swami students. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Bhaiya. Thank you so much. And I
Om Shri
thank
Sai
all
Ram.
the people who have joined us for this view, and many people have expressed their happiness. It's all Swami's grace, let me tell that much. that we are able to do that. And thank you. This video will be available on the channel, so everybody is welcome to watch, share, and enjoy Bhagwan. Thank you, and Sai Ram
Om
to
Shri
all.
Sai Ram. Jai Sai Ram.